Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening to you all. Welcome to this session in partnership with St. John's University. I am Archit Ambekar from Seed Global Education, and I'm going to be your host today. I can see that many attendees have started to join in. For those of you who are already here, if you could quickly post in the chat box, which city are you dialing in from? If you can quickly post in the chat box, which city are you dialing in from? I can see people are joining in from Bhubaneswar, Bageshwar, somebody from Kanpur, somebody from Kolkata, somebody from Haryana, somebody from Karachi, Pakistan, which is a neighboring country. We have somebody from Delhi, Surat, Bangalore. Oh, we have somebody from Ghana as well. We have somebody from Kolhapur, Maharashtra. We have somebody from Pune, Dehradun, again, somebody from Chandigarh, Nagpur. Okay, great. Thank you everyone from joining in from across the country. Uh, I'm going to welcome you all again to today's webinar hosted in partnership with St. John's University. Today's masterclass is on artificial intelligence and machine learning in your career. I am going to quickly introduce Seed, then I'm going to introduce St. John's University, and then our amazing speakers, and then begin the session. A little bit about Seed. We're a UK headquartered company that facilitates connections between leading global universities and prospective students like yourselves. Our mission is to connect aspiring students like you with faculty and admissions team from top universities, allowing you to explore the programs they offer and make informed decisions about your higher education goals. A little bit about St. John's University. It is located in the vibrant New York metropolitan area. St. John's University's Peter J. Tobin College of Business stands at the forefront of business education, consistently cultivating future global leaders. Through its strong industry partnerships, the school fosters an environment of innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. The institution empowers students to connect with leading global corporations, preparing them to excel in diverse professional arenas. Notable alumni have secured positions at renowned firms including AIG, Amazon, Deloitte, EY, JP Morgan, KPMG, PwC, among others. Before we dive in, let me quickly introduce you to the speakers today. Our first speaker for the day is Professor Stephen Discolli. He's a CPA, Certified Public Accountant, Adjunct Associate Professor at St. John's University's Tobin College of Business. He has earned his BA from Columbia University and a master's degree from NYU. He became a certified Cisco Systems Network Associate in 2001 and obtained his CPA license in 2012. In addition to his work at St. John's University, Professor Discolli created and heads the first community of practice for artificial intelligence at the United States Treasury Department. He is also the author of two books, Artificial Intelligence and Deep Learning with Python, Every Line of Code Explained, and Artificial Intelligence Through Machine Learning with Python. Welcome to this session, Professor Discolli.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Our next speaker for the day is Amber Steiger. She is the Director of Graduate Admissions at St. John's University. Amber is an experienced higher education professional with a strong background in graduate enrollment management and recruitment. She currently serves as the Director of Graduate Admission at St. John's University, a role she has held since November 2018. In this position, Amber oversees the recruitment and admissions processes for graduate programs, driving strategies that attract a diverse pool of applicants and support the university's enrollment goals. Her leadership, strategic vision, and dedication to student success have made her a key figure in graduate admissions at St. John's University. Welcome to this session, Amber.
Thank you. That was the best introduction I've ever gotten. I think I might need that text. Thank you.
I will send that to you, Amber. Before we get started, here's a quick question for the audience. I'm going to be launching a poll on your screens, which should appear right now. Which skill do you think will be the most valuable in an AI-driven job market? Your options are data analysis and interpretation, AI, ML programming and development, creativity and problem solving, ethical decision making, and AI governance. I'm going to give it about 30 more seconds before I end the first poll and then see the results. And then, Professor, I'm going to hand it over to you with your presentation to take care of how good the students have rated this one.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming in and attending today. It's a pleasure meeting everyone. And great to see so many people have an interest in AI and willing to shape the future with AI. So I'm going to share my screen now. And
again, just one more minute before I end the poll, and then I'll hand it over to you.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. I think there's a clear it's scaling towards AI ML programming and development, which is the leader by 53%, followed by the rest of the options. Professor, I'm now going to hand it over to you to take over with the presentation. Over to you.
Oh, great. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen here. And there we go. Okay, I think you guys can see my screen now. So I teach an introductory course in Python geared toward machine learning and AI, with an emphasis in that. We take students who know virtually nothing for programming or Python or AI or machine learning, and then we get them to a fairly, almost an intermediate level by the end of the course. So, of course, it does help if you have a bit of a programming background, just a little bit, but the way I'm going to demonstrate it today, you're going to see that you don't necessarily need to be a coder or have such a technical background in AI to understand what's going on and see the possibilities for a career. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show you some different areas that you could get into in AI, and also show a little bit of the introduce the technical background of it, to see how these models are produced and how you can implement AI in different areas. So I'm going to start with here. Let me go to presentation mode here. Okay. Okay, so artificial intelligence, machine learning, sometimes the terms are, used synonymously. There's slight differences. It's a technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning, comprehension, problem solving. I say not only computers because, in the future we have things like appliances, washing machines, refrigerators, things like this getting involved with AI also. Now, machine learning involves algorithms that learn from data. Machine learning is generally considered a subsection of AI. Artificial intelligence is a more broader topic that typically involves what we call deep learning and the use of complex systems called neural networks to predict, generate, categorize, use data, predict the future, and also find out quantities from today, not necessarily predicting the future, but also learning information about in the past and the present also. Now, a lot of AI is based on what we call neural networks. And each one of these circles we call a neuron. And over here is a very simple model, but in reality, it could be hundreds and even thousands, sometimes millions of these neurons. So the objective here, I'm going to give you an example of predicting whether a medical patient, will be a candidate to have diabetes, a disease involved with blood sugar, by putting certain inputs or predictors into a model. And at the end, you ultimately get a yes or a no that the candidate will be someone who's predisposed to diabetes. Now, you notice here there's one output. Now, neural networks work with numbers. So it's not, in essence, it's not going to give you a yes or no on the output. It could give you a one and a zero, where one represents yes and zero represents no. So you got to understand anything we want our neural network to do ultimately is using numbers or turning data into numbers, whether it's photos, video, audio, um, or whether we want to predict diabetes. Now, a deeper look into each one of these. Now, back here, you see each one of these circles called neurons. And let me just take one of them. Now, you notice here we have three inputs, three variables going into the neuron. What happens is each one of these variables is going to be multiplied what we call by a weight, right? And when they reach here, they're all added together. All of these products are added together. They go into the neuron, and then there's a function that acts on it, and then there's an output. Now, going back to the prior slide, you see here, notice the way each one of these has the three inputs, and the three inputs are added together. They come in, there's some kind of a function that acts on it, and then there's an output that goes here, and they're all added up. But you have to understand that this is done in hundreds or thousands or even millions of neurons. So what happens is the goal of a model like this is to have the proper value for the weights such that you can make an accurate prediction in the end. Okay, so going back to our diabetes example, this could be weight, this could be the amount of sugar in the blood, and this could be age. So these are all numeric quantities that work well with neural networks. Now, a little more of an intricate look at what we just saw on the prior slide. This activation function here shows that the ultimate value goes from 0 to 1 over here, and all of the numbers in between. So over here, like I said, each one of these inputs is multiplied by a certain number. And when you train the model, these weights, these W's called weights, they change. They change in such a way, such as to give us an accurate prediction in the end, ultimately. Now, keep in mind, this is just one neuron, okay? And then ultimately, there could be layers and layers of neurons that we're going to see later on in the presentation that do the same thing. They get multiplied by weights, an activation function acts on them, and then there's an output, and then that output goes to the next neuron, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So depending on how technical it is, this uses a lot of machine resources, and your goal is to get the weights in such a way such to get an accurate prediction. Now, some of the things, aside from the diabetes prediction example, some of the other ways we could use AI and machine learning, there's robotics. Now, AI enables machines to perform complex tasks and interact with their environment. So inputs could be from the environment, such as, we have self-driving cars where images are put into neural networks so the car recognizes what a sign means, whether it's a stop sign, whether it's a yield sign or a speeding sign. So you remember robotics and things like that, and self-driving cars interact with input from their environments. And typically, these are images. And as we can see later on, images could be turned into numbers. Human resources, that's another field that you could get into that involves AI. AI can improve human resource operations like recruitment and talent management. You could have variables like experience, education, test scores, or just enthusiasm could be rated on scales from 1 to 10 of a candidate who wants to get a job. And these are all variables that can be used in an AI model. Sales, AI can personalize customers' experience by analyzing data. We could get our machines to do what's called sentiment analysis to see what the reviews that customers made and see if they're favorable reviews or not so favorable reviews, and categorize the product as such and help with sales. And that involves I'm
Sorry
sorry.
to interrupt you. Your slides are not changing. I'm not sure if you are.
Oh, they're not changing. Okay, let's see. Uh, are we seeing, let's see, how can we use AI and machine learning? Are you seeing that one?
So we can see the slide. What is AI and machine learning? I think that's slide 2 for you.
Oh, slide 2. Okay.
It's also not on slideshow. I'm not sure how you can see it.
Okay, let's see. What if we go back to this? Okay, maybe now, could you see my screen here? Let's see. Let me, um,
Do you want to just reshare your screen and then maybe keep?
that's a good idea. Yeah, let me reshare my screen here. Okay. Sharing, and let me go here. Okay. Okay, how's that?
Yeah, we can go ahead from here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Now, let me go.
Yeah, we can see now.
Okay, now you can see that. Okay. So going down the list here, now natural language processing in this area here helps computers understand and interpret language. So ultimately, it turns words and letters into numbers and uses the sequence of these words to interpret and see, for example, if a review is favorable or unfavorable, like we mentioned before, or also to make sense of a sentence. So you could, you're in a way, they say that you're making the AI is making the computer understand and read and interpret, but it's not really the way human beings read and understand and interpret, but it does make the computer have the ability to categorize words and sentences. That can help in a number of fields. Then we have customer service. Of course, you've all seen chatbots, and they use natural language processing. The way you respond to it in a chatbot, the way the algorithm will understand what you're typing in or what kind of question you're asking, and things like that. AI could be used in finance to improve accuracy and efficiency in fraud detection. And that's sort of my field at the Treasury Department. We're figuring out how to use AI in fraud detection, in tax compliance, tax law, in investing, Securities and Exchange Commission regulations to see if companies are following certain rules and laws. And of course, there's in the world of finance, there's a lot of data that's numerical and in numbers. Then we have healthcare. Now, AI could be used by developers to improve decisions in healthcare, medical diagnostics, potential development of cures. And I know St. John's is an excellent pharmacy department, and that would be great if we can integrate that with AI. Now, keep in mind, whenever you want to predict or calculate or an unknown value or categorize something, machine learning can be used. Okay, it's not just a tool for predicting something in the future. It's knowing something that's happening today, or knowing something that's happening in the past. Now, as I put here, future values can be predicted, and AI can also calculate certain values in the past and present. Now, an example we have, if you wish to have an idea of the home prices in Paris, France today, AI can use data from a prior period to estimate the prices today, or even get an idea of what prices were like in the past. So the way you train a model with data that you know already, which would be past data, you can get your model to figure out values from the past the present, and the future, hopefully. And there's a whole field of AI that uses categorization. Now, computer vision, machines can categorize to see and understand images, videos. This includes object detection, image classification, image generation. For example, self-driving cars categorizing traffic signs, as I mentioned before. What does a stop sign do? How's it going to react to a yield sign? How's it going to react to a fork in the road, etc. And I mentioned here image generation. That's a whole field of AI called generative AI. And with generative AI, we are making new images, the so-called deep fakes, and we could make new video, we can make new audio, and it's not just used for nefarious or bad purposes of making false images or false videos. Generative AI could be used to actually clear up old images. If you have an old picture from the 1970s or 1980, it could actually be used, generative AI could be used to clean up that image and make a really clear image. Then we have speech recognition. This involves developing systems that can understand and transcribe human speech, just like we use in voice assistants and automatic transcription. And then we mentioned natural language processing, where the models, they turn words into numbers and they categorize words, right? And, whether in sentiment analysis, movie reviews, whether this is a bad review or a favorable review, that's where categorization ends up. Recommendation engines. These systems predict user preferences for new products, movies, news articles, etc. And keep in mind, you don't need to be a coder to have a career in AI. There are systems that, for example, IBM has Watson, which makes it fairly much, I'd like to say, easier for you to get involved with AI than being a coder. And SAP and all kinds of, and Microsoft has Azure and all kinds of software that make AI usable without coding, without needing any knowledge of coding. Just the little steps on it. But if you are interested in coding, and I apologize for the noise here, we're getting a little construction here, but just a little bit about the coding side. If you're interested in the coding, and some of you are coders out there, or some of you don't even, this is your first experience with coding, there are certain steps. And if you master these steps to building a neural network, you'll be well on your way to be able to program an AI model. So the steps are import libraries and load data. So when I say import libraries, you're importing tons and tons of code that you do not have to code. It's already brought in for you from a library that's out there that you're downloading. So it makes your job much easier as a coder. Then you're going to define a model. And we saw earlier those neural networks with all the circles and the neurons. That's our model, and you could define it with Python, or there's other languages, although Python is the premier language at the moment for AI and machine learning. Then you compile the model, you bring it together, you define it, then you fit the model, which means you're using past data to construct the model and determine the value of all those little weights that we saw before. Going back to the real estate example, so if you know prices of real estate in Paris from the past, and you use that data to fit the model into predicting the price of a closer day in the past. For example, you use data from 2 months ago to predict the price of real estate a month ago, right? So you're using past data to predict something that already happened in the past. So you're actually fitting the model with all that data because you know what real estate prices were in the past. You know that. And once you do that, and you actually create this model with the proper numbers for the weights, you could hopefully predict the future with the model. Then you could evaluate the model. The models have certain errors, right? Nothing's perfect. If they were perfect, we'd all be millionaires here. We'd be predicting the stock market. And so there's error involved. And then you make your new prediction. So once you get that model that predicts real estate prices in Paris, you can use it to predict future real estate prices. So here's the importing libraries, just to get you a sense of what this kind of looks like. So over here, it's telling you from NumPy, which is a library, to import a certain method or function. So you don't have to, once again, this is used so you don't have to write the code for this one, because this function right here has a lot of code involved in it, but you don't have to write it once you import it. So it makes coding easier. This import step, just keep in mind, it makes coding easier for you. Then you load a data set. So our example here was for the diabetes model, right? So this data set here is this. Okay, so you have diabetes. This is past data from patients and a 1 means that they did eventually get diabetes, unfortunately, and a 0 means they did not. So we have 1, this patient did. Each row represents a separate patient, right? So, and each patient has a weight, amount of glucose, skin thickness, insulin level, etc., diabetes, age, and blood pressure. So each row, this is 1 patient here who unfortunately eventually got diabetes, and this is another patient here that did not. So what you're doing over here is you're loading this data here, right? And you're putting it here into an X and to a Y. Now, for our example, the Y is column 8. The Y is what you want to predict. So you want to predict if the person is going to get diabetes, right? So that's the Y. So you notice here the Y, the first area before the comma means all the rows. So you're defining your data set as being all the rows and just column 8. So you go back to here, it's all these rows, but only column 8. So this is going to be your Y's. There's going to be a bunch of 1s and 0s. Okay, so this is what you want to predict. Whereas your X's are going to be all the rows and columns 0 through 7. Now, the reason it's 7 is because Python uses the last number as sort of a ceiling. So once again, you go back here, it's all the rows, all these things, but columns 0 through 7. All of these variables are going to be used to predict column 8, right? So we're leaving out column 8. So the X's consist of everything except column 8. Okay, so if you didn't know anything about coding, you're one ahead of the game now. And over here, we define the model. So over here, you're going to make a model. You're going to first define it as something called sequential from the sequential class. Then you start adding the layers. Each one of these subsequent lines, this line of code, this one, and this one, adds a layer of those neurons. Here it's adding 8 neurons. Here it's adding 4. And here 1. You want the last one to be 1 because 1 is going to be a yes or a no. Will the patient have diabetes? Yes. Or will the patient not have diabetes? Okay. And that's your model, basically. And then you can use this model to predict. Now, I'm using diabetes. You want to predict the stock price. You want to predict real estate prices. You want to see if there's a recession. You want to categorize something as good or bad. 1 could be good, 0 could be bad. Like I said before, sentiment analysis and product reviews, right? So you could have any kind of output here, which in something like that would be words, right? And you're going to turn these words into numbers. And then at the end, the final layer here is a 1, will be like a yes or a no. Now, this was just one model. And here's the model, the diabetes model. Now, note here, we have inputs here. We have the 7 inputs, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm sorry, that was 8 inputs, right? Because we go back here, we go from 0 to 7, and that's 8, right? And here are the 8 inputs. And the first layer, the first dense layer, as they call it, has 8 neurons. And then the next layer has 4 neurons. And ultimately, it boils down to here, where you're going to get either a 1 or a 0. The patient's going to get diabetes or is not going to get diabetes. So, over here was more like a kind of a categorization, but you could have such that you could have a bunch of variables here to predict at the end what the price of real estate, let's say, would be in the certain future. Now, one more line here is compile the model. It's kind of brings everything together, and it has something called an optimizer and something called a loss function that just determines how good your model is based on past data. And here's where you train it. The fit command is from the class model. You see it accesses with that dot there. It gives it 150 epochs. Now, an epoch means how many times all of your past data will be entered into the network to train it, right? Over here, it's going to enter 150 times. It could enter thousands of times. Sometimes you overtrain it, so you don't want to make it too much. That's why AI is, in a way, it's an art. It's a way of you deciding what to do. There's little nuances, right? So in certain situations, you may want 150 epochs. In other situations, you may want 1,000 epochs. So it's really, there's no cookie cutter, template to make coding good for everything. It depends on your data and your situation. So that's something to keep in mind. And the batch size is how many rows, in our case, it was patients, are input before those W's, right? And with these W's, well, there's a W in each one of these lines. There's so many lines here. That's how many rows get input before these W's get updated. So you got to keep in mind during training, the W's that we saw in the beginning, they get updated so that they get better and better at predicting what you want to predict. And here, these lines show you what the accuracy of the model. Okay, it's very seldom that you get 100% accuracy. So it gives you an idea. So if it's something life or death, you wouldn't want something at 60% accuracy. But if it's something like, telling you what stock to predict, okay, maybe you'll take 60% accuracy and you'll buy your stock based on that. And then you can make predictions for the future. And keep in mind, these hashtags here, these are comments. They just explain, and this is, in coding, if you didn't know, in Python, we use a hashtag to explain what the line does. Right? It's not a necessary step, but it's a good practice in coding to do. So over here, if you have a new value, right, you want to say once you did your training, you created your model, you might have a new patient, right? You're going to have a new patient, and this X represents a row, which we saw way back here, and I hope I'm not, there we go. So this X actually represents all these numbers up to column 7. Okay, so it represents 8 numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that X, you have a new patient with a new weight and a new glucose and a new age and a new et cetera, and then you're going to use your model to predict if the person will get diabetes, right? And this rounding function just rounds it into a 1 or a 0, because in the end you might get something like 0.999, and you just round it to 1. It's most likely the person will get diabetes. Okay. And here is actually the predict function over here. And it gives you, at the end, it ultimately gives you a 1 or a 0. Now, keep in mind, neural networks could be very complicated. As I said before, it could be hundreds or even thousands of neurons, but Python makes it quite simple to create these things. You can create these in other coding languages in C++. It's more difficult because they don't have the libraries that Python has. And remember, I said by importing libraries, you're importing tons of code that you do not have to write. Okay, and here's a very complicated one. Not, you know what, actually not such a complicated one because they could be in, each row could be in the hundreds or thousands. And over here, it's just, maybe like a dozen. Here's another creative design for a neural network. Something a little more simple. And remember the inputs, they could be, numerous. They could be just one. They could be one at a time, right? So, you're going to have a bunch of data. So over here, for example, these 5 inputs could be one row with 5 columns, okay? The number of inputs are synonymous with the number of columns, right? That's a good way to remember it. And this could vary, right? And again, the outputs could vary too. Maybe you want to predict a bunch of things coming out at the output, right? Not just one item or one quantity or one category. And any questions here? I should have actually taken questions as I was going, but feel free to ask me. Any questions here? I'll check in the chat.
Professor, we'll take all the questions after Amber's presentation as well.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Sounds great.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor. I think that was indeed an insightful presentation. Before I hand it over to Amber, I would like to launch my second poll, which is going to be on your screens right now. Please take a minute to answer this poll. What is the most important factor in your decision to study in the US as an international student? Is it access to top-ranked universities and academic programs? Is it the opportunities for career growth and networking? Is it the exposure to diverse cultures and global experiences? Is it the opportunity to work in the US after graduation? Is it learning from world-class faculty and industry leaders, or does it include all of the above factors? We'll keep the poll on for another 20 seconds before we announce the results. I can see that a lot of them are inclining towards all of the above. 10 more seconds before we end the poll. Okay, I am going to end the poll right now. We have about 55% of the people saying, all of the above options, post which the next one is the opportunities for career growth and networking, and then the other options respectively. You can see the results on your screen. I am now going to hand it over to Amber, who's going to walk you through everything that St. John's has to offer all of you. Over to you, Amber.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and allowing me to share a little bit about St. John's University. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can, Amber.
Wonderful. Okay, great. So for those who aren't aware or haven't heard of us, St. John's University is a medium to large university which is located in New York City. We have a few campuses worldwide. Our main campus is our Queens campus, which is located about 20 minutes or so from downtown Manhattan. We also have a Manhattan campus, locations in Rome, Italy, and Paris, France, and then Limerick, Ireland, as well as many study abroad opportunities, which I will discuss in a few minutes. I will go over this very quickly because there's a lot of information to share, but I know you probably have more questions for Professor Discola than you do for myself. So very quickly, just a few rankings that we have on our graduate programs, primarily within our master's programs, cybersecurity, which was ranked in the top 10 recently, and then our MBA and online MBA programs, which are also continually ranked. Each year, our rankings continue to improve, which is something that we're very proud of and obviously speaks to the quality of education that we're providing to our students. As I mentioned, we have two campuses in New York City. One is our Queens campus, which is where I'm located right now. It's a 102-acre typical college campus that you're used to seeing on American television and movies. And then our Manhattan campus is on the screen behind me, and then also on the screen that I'm sharing with the folks in front of the building at 101 Astor Place. That's a 3-story building, which is right in the heart of the East Village, very close to NYU and Cooper Union, and a great neighborhood for students who are looking to have the experience down in the hub of the business world. So some quick information about St. John's University. We have about just under 20,000 students currently enrolled. That is undergrad, grad, law school at all of our locations worldwide. We do have very small class sizes though. So while we have a large campus community that has a great family feel, we have a 16-to-1 student to faculty ratio. Most of our graduate classes are going to cap out at about 25 students. And as you get into more advanced classes within your graduate degree, you'll find that that number is decreasing as well. So you will know your professors, you will know the students who are in your classes, you will get to know everyone. And that's really important, I think, as part of your St. John's experience, and also to ensure that you are building that network within your graduate program. As you can see, we have 48 US states and 118 countries represented. So we are routinely named in the top 10 most diverse universities in the United States. That is a huge source of pride for us here at St. John's University. Our diversity is very important to us, and we want to make sure that every student who's coming in feels welcomed. So to that point, we have over 180 student clubs and organizations, many of which are cultural or based on student identity, to ensure that you're finding fellow students on campus that you can relate to in all different types of ways. We also have 17 Division I Big East sports teams. So for those of you who follow US sports, you may know that our basketball team had our best season in 25 years this year. We were named the Big East champions and made it through a few rounds of March Madness, and we're looking next year to have an even better season. Our basketball team does play their Big East games in Madison Square Garden, which is where the New York Knicks play. Can't recommend it enough to come to St. John's and see a game. Even if you don't attend, it's really something exciting to see. Oh, can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can, Amber.
Wonderful. Okay, so some of the graduate outcomes you can see here. About 93% of our graduate students are hired or enrolled in an additional degree within 6 months of graduation. 96% of students would recommend St. John's, and about 98% are in a position that relates to their career goal. This is specific to graduate students only within the last year and a half. As I mentioned before, we are New York's team. We have 17 Division I sports. And then if you're not at the level to be an NCAA athlete, we also have club sports, intramural sports, and lots of other opportunities on campus to remain physically fit. In terms of admission, this is what is required of us to go through each item quickly. So we require the online application. Everyone who's participating in today's session will receive an application fee waiver, so you don't need to worry about paying that application fee. We do require transcripts from all the institutions you've attended post-secondary school, a resume, an essay, and 1 to 3 letters of recommendation depending upon which program you're applying to. The GRE and the GMAT is not required for the vast majority of programs, but if you're interested in a specific program, you can certainly ask in the chat if it does require it. Most of them are doctoral level programs or within the School of Pharmacy. Some programs will require writing samples such as lab papers or term papers. Again, those are mostly for the doctoral level programs or the English level programs. And then for anyone who has a degree outside the United States, we do require a foreign transcript evaluation from a NACES member. It needs to be a course-by-course evaluation of your degrees post-secondary school and have a GPA calculation. We do have a discounted program with Spantran, which is a NACES member. So I can share that link as well, but they do provide a discount to students who are applying to St. John's. We also require the TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo. I do recognize that many of you are probably proficient in English. So what we can offer as well is once you submit your application, we have all of the other items that are required, including evaluation. We can provide you a waiver code for Duolingo so that you don't need to pay for that exam, and then we can complete your application and get you a decision. Quickly, just to go over some of the resources that we have for students here at St. John's University, we have dedicated career services for our graduate students. So there is a specific director of career advisement solely for graduate students because we recognize that your needs are different than those of undergrads. Our career advisors provide lots of resources, including resume review, building your interview prep. We use AI to do actually interview skills assessment. So Career Services has a tool where you can input where you are interviewing and what field it is, what the position is. You'll be recorded while you do your mock interview. Then there's an AI summary that comes up, and then it's also reviewed by your career counselor. We have events every semester on campus. So today is actually our giant career fair with over 100 companies that are looking to hire St. John's students, many of whom are St. John's alumni who know the value of a St. John's education and are looking to hire fellow St. John's alum or current students. As I mentioned before, we do have some study abroad short-term opportunities. These are what we call global destination courses. So these can be a week or 2 weeks that are part of your academic learning here within the university. And these we find really help differentiate our graduate students from other graduate students, especially when you're applying for employment, because less than 2% of graduate students participate in a study abroad opportunity. So that's really a great way to kind of set yourself apart. Finally, in terms of financial support, one of the things we're very proud of here at St. John's is the scholarships, fellowships, and financing opportunities that we offer all students. So when you are admitted to the university, we will automatically consider most admitted for merit scholarships, alumni scholarships, and work experience scholarships. You'll find that out in your acceptance letter if you were awarded those. We also have GA, which is a graduate assistantship opportunity. Those are opportunities where you can receive tuition and a stipend in exchange for working with faculty or in an office on campus. And then in addition to that, there's lots of department, endowed, external scholarships and fellowships. So lots of different ways to fund your education, which you'll learn more about as you go through the application process. So very quickly, I just want to show you some of the different programs that we offer. These are the 5 colleges that we have here at St. John's University: the College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, the College of Professional Studies, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the School of Education, and the College of Business. We have 65 plus graduate programs, so I'm not going to walk you through every single one. I'm not going to read them off, but hopefully whichever program that you are looking for or a few that you may be interested in, you'll see on these lists. If you have any specific questions about the different types of programs that we offer, I'm happy to answer that in the question and answer section. And they'll also provide all of the different links to our programs and the application. So a few more slides on the different education programs. And then finally, here's our contact information. So I do recommend that you follow us on Instagram. We do a few events a month of Instagram lives, and then we're constantly posting student and program content. The link to apply is listed there. And as a reminder, everyone will receive an application fee waiver for attending today. And then, of course, there's our contact information, and I will be sure to put all of this in the chat. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Amber. I think it was a very insightful presentation. I'm now going to open it up to questions. I can see that there are some questions in the chat box. Before I take some of those questions, I have a question for Professor. Professor, usually when we talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, the first thing that comes to mind is, do I need an engineering background? If you can just throw light on, how somebody who does not have an engineering background can still pursue a course or a career in artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Sure. There's whole careers that are based on things other than coding. Like you can be an AI, help implement AI into a company. You could be sort of an expert on AI tools and software that you don't necessarily need to build yourself, that they're just out there already. And I named a few previously, the IBM Watson, and we have Azure and Microsoft, and those are tools you don't necessarily need to learn how to code to use. So you can, of course, it depends where you want to get into, and if you want to get into the more into actually building models, and you'll have more opportunity and more choice of where to go. But you don't, and also to learn the coding. I My background in coding at Columbia University, I studied C++, but anything I learned from Python, I actually taught myself. Once you know a language, you could, a coding language, you could easily transfer to another language. But you can, as long as you show employers what you're doing and you know the tools. Um, the answer is yes, you can have a career in AI without having an engineering background or even a technical background or knowing how to code, and that's based on using software that's already out there. So that's the short answer. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, yes, it definitely does. Thank you so much, Professor. I'm now going to take questions that have come in the chat box. Somebody wants to know, if they have a 3 years BA degree, is it acceptable? If not, what can they do to work on their profile? Amber, I think this is more towards you, if you would like to take this one.
Sure, absolutely. So, really, we don't have a uniform policy right now for 3 year bachelor's degree. We're going to go off of whatever is in the foreign credit evaluation. With that being said, Grad Council did recently approve an initiative to accept 3 year degrees from India and other countries. So, we are working on implementing that and adjusting our policy, which I hope will be done this summer, so beginning hopefully for spring 26 and fall 26 applicants. So definitely stay tuned for more information on that. Oh, you're still muted.
Sorry, thank you so much, Amber. I hope this answers the candidate's question. Professor, the next question is, I think, mostly towards you. With AI and machine learning, is it possible to understand animal languages? Somebody has asked this question.
Interesting. Yeah, there's so many different applications in biology and zoology. Um, any Keep in mind, anytime data can be represented numerically, you could definitely use AI. So if you wanted, you could actually take and there's a section in my book about audio and recreating speech and audio and categorizing audio. So you could theoretically take the sound of a certain bird and you could break that up into numbers and feed it through a neural network, and you could categorize if that's a mating call, if that's the bird is just hungry or whatever it is. I don't know anything about zoology, but yes, definitely. I mean, that's one I that's pretty new to me. That's a very interesting question. Yeah, I would say yes, because in terms of anything audio wise can be categorized, right? So it's kind of difficult, that particular aspect, because you'd have to know beforehand what each sound, or have an idea what each sound means in the animal kingdom, which it's it's your guess as good as mine. Because remember, neural networks, you have to train them on past data, so you have to have data that you already know what the answer is to it, or somewhat know. So yeah, I'd say a tentative yes on that question.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor. Amber, I think mostly this question is towards you. Somebody has 6 years of experience in front-end development. and they're interested in this course due to the growing demand of AI expertise. Their question is, does this course provide a structured path to help them start with practical applications? Additionally, how soon can they expect to specialize in a special role, such as an ML engineer or an LLM engineer? Sorry, I'm not sure if Amber or Professor, one of you can take this.
Oh,
Well,
oh, maybe I could just put
maybe
it up.
we both.
Yeah,
Sorry,
ladies first. Ladies first.
I was just going to say that so we don't have anything specific to engineering. While we do have an LLM, the closest programs we have on campus that relate to AI are our MBA with the concentration in artificial intelligence, the MS in business analytics, the MS in cybersecurity and information systems, the MS in computer science, and then the MS in data mining. So those would be the 5 degrees that I would recommend most related to the presentation today. Um, Again, a lot of your experiences in the past will come into play, certainly for what employment you can get after that. And then, of course, you have the ability to be flexible with your programming to add in additional coursework, which can help tailor your degree towards your career goals.
Right. I mean, I can only speak for my course. My course is basically an introductory course. So it takes people that don't necessarily have a background in coding or AI and brings them up toward, I'd like to say, the intermediate level. And because we learn different machine learning and how to implement AI using Python. So it's my course, it's basically taken from zero to fairly knowledgeable at the end. Um, but you sound like a person that has a background, a fairly complex background, and Professor Steiger probably her answer will probably answer your question.
Thank you so much. Amber, I think I'm going to take this one. This one is more for you. What are the facilities that the university provides, and what's the ratio of getting placed?
So I'm going to assume in that the student is referring to career services facilities. So um, as I included in the slides, I think the most appropriate measure would be that 93% of our graduate students are employed or pursuing an additional degree within 6 months of graduation. In terms of the resources that Career Services provides, there are career and internship fairs every semester on campus with hundreds of employers. Every week, there are different employers who are visiting and doing more select recruitment on campus. We have workshops daily, weekly, different services to help you with your resume building, with interview skills, with prepping for interviews for specific companies. We also have virtual internships. So Career Services has all online part-time, very small internships starting at 5 hours to 40 hours. So they're, great opportunities for you to participate in a project maybe even outside of your field or outside of your comfort zone to experience something new and then be able to build your resume while you're doing that. We also do shadow days, so you're able to work with a alum or a mentor to see what their day-to-day life looks like. And then we have alumni mentors. So lots and lots of different services in terms of career and internship placement for students.
Great. Thank you so much, Amber. Professor, I think the next question is towards you. How can someone integrate machine learning to GPU or AI chips to enhance their performance and to train those AI chips for a specific task?
I think you'd have to know the uh, now when you say AI chips, I believe that was the term used. Um, when you implement these models, you're creating your own recipe for a model. And if I can understand your question correctly, you're saying how I'm sorry, how you change the AI chips? Was that the question?
No, I just read it out again.
Yeah.
How can someone integrate machine learning to GPU or AI chips to enhance their performance and to train those AI chips for a specific task?
Oh, okay. I mean, I can only talk, yeah, on the coding end of it. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. You could definitely do that. And it takes, more of an advanced type of level than what I actually teach in my course. But if you're going from someone that doesn't know anything about coding and AI, then my course is really where you want to be. Um, but the answer to your question is, I would say yes, you could definitely do that. And the more you learn about AI and the more you learn about coding, you could definitely be on that path to doing such a project like this, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Professor. Amber, I know we're out of time. If you don't mind, we can just take a few more questions and then wrap up. Okay,
Of
great.
course, I'm here.
Okay. Amber, someone wants to know, what are the career options, they can explore in the US after doing an MS from St. John's University in artificial intelligence?
Sure. So, um, I mean, I really think, the floor is yours. In terms of career opportunities, really a lot of what the career counselors do is to help blend together your past experiences, if you have them, because we don't require work experience, with your undergraduate degree, your internship experiences, and then what you're hoping to accomplish once you graduate. And if you don't know what you'd like to do, then we certainly have a lot of tests, assessments, and things that you can fill out so that we can help figure out, where your skills lie and what fields may be best suited for you. But we have 65 plus graduate degrees. So in terms of, matching careers to programs, that's something that we can certainly have an individual conversation about. Career services will also be a great resource for that because there's a lot of careers out there that students maybe aren't aware of. And so that's even something that career services has, is a list of majors and then potential career opportunities from that as well that we can dive into together.
Yeah, I wanted to add that, a lot of opportunities, a lot of doors are open through networking. Like I've introduced students in my class to the friends that I know. I know people who work for Google and Facebook, and and aside from the excellent placement that St. John's has, good idea to network with professors, network on LinkedIn and Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. So you never know. I mean, a lot of people I know have gotten careers in AI just solely from networking and not even through college placement offices.
Wow, that's amazing. I think networking is the key if you want to study anything in the US. So, yeah. Professor, I'm going to take this next question to you. Somebody wants to know the AI application in civil and construction industry.
Interesting. That question I do not know, but I know that you could definitely make an application from scratch. Now you're talking, I think you said civil engineering, right? With civil engineering, a lot of it is visual, and AI has a way of using images, breaking images down into pixels and numbers, etc. So definitely, I don't know what's out there that's commercial software that uses AI for that type of industry, but for sure, you could definitely build an application like that from neural networks because a lot of it is visual and they deal with video and images. So the answer is definitely yes, but I don't know the names of pre-built applications in that field.
No worries, Professor. Before we wrap up, I want to ask Amber one last question. How can somebody craft a compelling application for St. John's University? What should they look forward to? What is something that they should really focus on when they are applying to St. John's University? If you would like to throw some light on that.
Sure. So, my biggest advice is to take advantage of the resources that myself and the team have. Please take advantage of, all the questions that we can help answer, and to make sure that, we are a good fit for you and what you're looking to do. Generally, I recommend that students create an Excel spreadsheet with the schools that they're applying to, their deadlines, what requirements they have, what program they're applying to, who their contact is, maybe if there's some events coming up. That way you can just keep yourself organized and have an idea of what you're looking forward to in terms of the process. For us, faculty are largely involved with our application review because they are really involved with our students. So while we do review applications holistically, I do always recommend that if you have something specific about St. John's, whether it's our program, our faculty, an event that you went to, something that you read on the website, that you do include that in your essay so that those of us who are reviewing your applications are aware that you've taken the time to really get to know St. John's and that you are dedicated to enrolling. The other thing is simple, but make sure before you send emails and essays and letters of recommendation that you are including the right name of the school, the right name of the program you're applying to, because as you can imagine, that happens all the time, that we get emails from students that reference programs that we don't have or other schools. And certainly that's a quick thing to just double check before you're sending those emails that I recommend can help as well.
Great. Professor Amber, do you have any closing comments before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'd like to say, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Were you referring to me, or I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll have ladies first again.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you everyone for attending. I did leave the link to the application in the chat, and as a reminder, you do receive an application fee waiver for attending today. Should you have any questions that we didn't get to, please feel free and email us directly at GradHelp, or you can be in touch with Seed and they'll get your questions over to us.
Professor.
I just wanted to thank everybody for attending, and also if you do have questions, you could email me, and anything comes to mind, I'd be happy to help. And I look forward to seeing some of you, hopefully all of you or some of you,
Thank you so much, Professor Discoli and Amber. It
in
was
the next
really
semester. It would be great.
having
Thank you, everybody.
Today morning. I'd also like to thank everyone for their participation and engagement in today's session. We hope you gained some valuable insights from this session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again. Have a great day, Professor and Amber, and have a great evening, everybody here, and the rest of the day from wherever you've joined. Thank you so much, everyone.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
everyone.
you.